What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to the CHGO Bears After Dark show, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. As you can tell, I'm your host, Nicholas Moreano, for tonight's show. Alongside me is Greg Braggs Jr. Greg, it's nice to see you again. Round two.
Yeah, no one knows this, but we just did a solid show for 3 minutes, a solid 3-minute show while you guys were all in the chat giving us the loaf. And we were joking that Cram got the loaf, but now, StreamYard was giving us a little issue when we were trying to go live. We didn't even realize that we weren't live. So now we got to spread the bread around. Carm doesn't just get the loaf. We all get the loaf. But hey, it happens. This is what happens when you're dealing with, trying to go live and doing streams and podcasts. That's just the nature of the beast. So, no hard feelings to our super producer, Steven. He's doing a great job, but we're here ready to talk some football. And the thing that we were talking about was the draft grades and how they can be unfair to make. Like, they put you guys all on the spot. Welcome, Carm. They put you guys on the spot. And, I feel it's an unfair ask, but I understand we got to do it. It's the nature of the beast. And so now here we are, and Carm is with us. Great timing.
Well, and my apologies, guys. Thank you for carrying me. One of my all-time greatest loafs. I was so excited. I was having such a good day. Pulled some great clips from the morning show. Got our podcast rolling. Had a healthy lunch. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do the show from the gym tonight, a la Nicholas Moreano. I'm gonna get my yoga on. I'm gonna sweat it out. I went for it in yoga, and then I went to set up the thing, and I'm like, I forgot my power cord, and this computer is not gonna make it through however long we're gonna go without it. So thank you for being here with me, and I apologize to every single person in the history of CHGO who has ever supported us for my tardiness tonight. I will say, I'd like to say it won't happen again, but I can't promise that because I am a human being.
You're at East Bank a lot, so.
Well, yeah, but not it's been in a downturn.
You were gonna do it from the sauna, right?
I have my little cubicle in there that everybody likes to think that I'm in an elevator or whatever. So more importantly, let's back on track. Sorry for that slight tangent. You said that you have to do the grades, Braggs. We don't have to do them. There's nothing we have to do. We did them. And you, of course, said A+++ for CHGO and on all the Bears grades. But we teased at the other, at the noon show that you would actually give your grades. So
no,
you don't have to do anything, buddy. But I'd love to hear where you're coming out on this thing.
No, it's incomplete. I'm sorry. You're not gonna twist my arm into this, because like we were talking about, how many times down the road do you people put egg on their face for trying to stand on 2 feet on something that you got to wait and see. And like I said, I understand everybody wants that instant analysis, but you can analyze in a fair way without standing out too far. The best example is the 2012 Seattle Seahawks draft. Widely criticized, a lot of bad grades. And these were the players in the first round. They drafted Bruce Irvin. They drafted Bobby Wagner. They drafted Russell Wilson, Robert Turbin, Jeremy Lane, and they also traded one of their picks for Marshawn Lynch. And at the time, everybody's like, terrible. They won a Super Bowl. Should have won 2 if Pete Carroll just runs the ball. So, it's one of those things, and I understand it's the nature of the beast, the NFL, the machine that never stops. So we got to have our grades. And, I'm giving the Bears, I'm giving Ryan Poles an A. Look at what I put it in my article. Look at what he flipped 7 picks into. Because I think because the Bears traded their first pick in the draft so far, in the past, that it's been forgotten that that's a part of this equation. I think Ryan Poles did a great job, but you got to wait and see how it all plays out.
I got a question for you, Nick, and for you, Gregory, as we're apparently we're not giving any more grades, and that's totally fine. And Greg is absolutely right. We need to wait for this to play out so we can go back and look at it and give an accurate grade in 3 years when CHGO is dominating the nation. By the way, shout out Mark Grody, who shouted out our interview with Braxton Jones earlier today on the score. Really appreciated that from Grody. That's first class stuff. And Parkins has always given us a ton of support too. But at any rate, we had this Gervon Dexter conversation earlier today, right? And the Bears are, in essence, betting on their ability to coach him up to the next level as far as getting off the ball quickly. So this is what I've been walking around with today. Do we not think that the Florida Gators, a pretty well-accomplished school in the SEC competing against all of college football, do we not think that they were trying to get him to do the same thing? Like, where there's a certain level of, I appreciate it, like maybe we are that organization that can just see what's gone wrong elsewhere and that they come in here and then all of a sudden they're better. But that's a hell of an organization that does that. And maybe we can, but I do, like, I'm sitting there wondering, like, you tell me they didn't see what was going on, and yet we're all of a sudden going to be, he's going to come here and find something that he didn't find at one of the best college football schools in the country. Does that makes, I think that makes plenty of sense. I don't know where you come out on that thought process, Nick.
Yeah, and Mark, you're talking about the get off for Gervon Dexter, not having that initial instincts to get off the line of scrimmage. And I think, yeah, that should be something, if you have it, you're going to show consistent. If you don't, you don't. But I wonder, like, and I brought this up on our earlier show today, like being in a system where your responsibilities are different, I wonder if he almost got used to, and this sounds weird, not coming off the ball as fast as he should have, when that should be, it doesn't, regardless of the scheme you play in, when the snap is a snap, you should be off the line of scrimmage and be engaging with an offensive lineman. But I wonder now where his task, his duty, his responsibility is going to be different, if that's where you're relying on these coaches. And it seems like the Bears are really heavy into their entire coaching staff, because we can see how much of an influence Chris Morgan had on the Darnell Wright pick, that workout that they did. But it seems like it's a team-wide confidence that the Bears have in their entire coaching staff to get the most out of these players. But I do agree, like, if he didn't show it consistently, even though it wasn't his main job to do it at Florida, like, I think it's might be a bit of a stretch to think like, oh, he's just going to get in the NFL where, everything is magnified times, 100. So we're going to have to see how that all plays out and how they're going to best do that for Gervon Dexter.
Well, and some of the things I saw, searching the tea leaves on Twitter from people that covered the team, and fans that watch their games consistently, said the Florida Gators had absolutely no depth on their defensive line. This is something we can understand as Bears fans, having no depth on the defensive line and how that can affect others. And there's a real trickle-down effect to that. And then also playing out of position. I can't speak to that, with confidence to say that that's the truth. But if that's what they're saying, as someone that's covered the team, I brought it up on our, draft show the other night, that at least gives me some hope that the Bears see what he has. And now you put him here. Bears still need to add depth to their defensive line, or else we're going to have the same problem we had last year. But, at the end of the day, your reach, you might say it's a reach to draft this guy where you did, but at least he's coming from an SEC school that has, a reputation, as opposed to reaching from some school that we haven't heard of in the second round. I understand trying to find diamonds in the rough, but at least you're finding something from the SEC. I think you'll have better success reaching for guys like that.
So, I'm just going to play the Ryan Poles part of my own question. Hey, Carm, if I could have taken a dude who was perfectly constructed at that spot at number 53 overall in the draft, I would have. That dude didn't exist. So I'm making a bet on Dexter because we do see a ton of talent there, and we're going to try to squeeze it out of him. But to your point, of course, I'd rather, right? I mean, I think that's, when you're drafting later, then there's going to be some level of project, and or you're taking a finished product that are closer to finished product, a fundamentally sound product that others don't like because of their measurables, but you think that person's going to have success despite the fact that his 40 time is 0.3 tenths of a second slower or whatever, and that and maybe you just break it down to all he needs to do is get stronger or something like along those lines.
Well, I mean, Brian Poles said it in the press conference. They like, and Matt Eberflus actually was the one that said it. They like guys with length, good arm length, in the measurables, like you said, because now they're going up against shorter armed interior offensive linemen and they have a better chance to move them. It's, simple numbers game when it comes to arm length. So, I like that they understand what they want to see, as far as measurables in there. And then that's what they go and get.
Yeah, and I think too, like this is a good point by educated Pookie. It took Duron Payne 5 years to become dominant. And he was a first round pick. So it's gonna, like, for Gervon Dexter, I think there's gonna be a sense of like patience, and that not every GM, not every coach has that luxury, and even the Bears to a certain extent. But it's gonna take time for him, I think, to develop that. But that's why I also think, like, double dipping at the position with a guy like Zach Pickens is also, a good move for trying to find that 3-tech, because you just said it, Mark. Like, there wasn't that ideal perfect guy in the second round that can just plug and play. He's the guy. So go get more 3-tech, more interior defensive linemen. So you have more opportunities to see what these different guys can bring to that position, because it is a very important one for the Bears. And like, I think Matt Eberflus explained it really well, after the draft, ended, where like the interior pressure, he felt like for quarterbacks now, which I thought was an interesting comment, that they're smaller. So if you can dent the pocket, it's going to impact them a little differently. So that's why you go out and get total 3 interior defensive linemen, to whether that's rotation or how they plan on using them. Like, I think that was a good move in their part, because like maybe Gervon Dexter's not that he's a project, but it might just take a little bit longer for that get off, for that penetrator to be as effective as, hopefully the Bears think he can.
And I am all for life journeys, get better, be taught something, work at it over and over again. What's your limit? Let's see if you can reach it. As I wake up every day and work on my ABCs and try to research and get better at this gig, like I'm supporting you, Sir Dexter. I got you, Pickens. You're my guy, Roshan. Let's go. Let's do this. I'll be rooting for all these guys unless, one of them gives us a reason to not root for them, which the Bears have had fantastic character in that locker room. At least they did last year. So I'm assuming that they're leaning into that as well. Since this is After Dark, I think we should have a little bit more fun than I'm currently having as far as the serious nature of this conversation. So I think that Braggs put out a tweet that I thought was completely not only moronic, but it got a ton of juice.
It's not possible.
Well, you asked, like, did the Bears just draft their replacements? Is Tyler Scott going to be? Are they getting rid of Darnell Mooney? Is Jack Sanborn's career over because they're drafting a linebacker in the 5th round? What about
Jalen Johnson?
What about Jalen Johnson? They just drafted the quarterback, trading up to 56, or all these guys out the door. Does anybody? So I'm just going to ask the chat, like, who, if anybody, does Ryan Poles looking at in your mind that's like, that dude, I'm definitely not paying him? Mooney, Claypool, Johnson, Sandgod, that is on out here, because a lot of I was apparently the moron, because everybody chimed in on that Braggs tweet, and there was a big discourse going on back and forth, and apparently Braggs is the genius and I'm the guy that doesn't know how to play in the sand. So congratulations, buddy. Maybe Poles indeed is drafting replacements left and right.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. And I think it's a fair conversation. Obviously, I'm getting ahead of myself with it, but not really when you consider the first example, as I cough into the mic. Lawrence would just be so proud of me. Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool. That's the immediate one that, you get draft Tyler Scott. That's the first thing everyone goes to. And it's a fair conversation, because Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool both have 1 year left on their contract. It has less to do about who we would love to keep on the team forever and ever, but it's just it's a numbers game, and this is a business. And you've already seen how Ryan Poles conducts these contract negotiations with David Montgomery and Roquan Smith, both very different contract negotiations as far as numbers, but he's hard lined when he deems what your value is. Yeah, he'll bring you back, but it's going to be at his number. And if these players feel their number is higher, you're going to have a hard time moving Ryan Poles off of that. So Darnell Mooney coming off an injury, 1 year left on his contract, you're up along Chase Claypool, in a scenario where both players play well, they're not going to re-sign both. That's very unlikely. So you're going to pick between the two. Most fans would say, well, it's going to be Darnell Mooney because he's friends with Justin Fields. But who's the guy that Ryan Poles is invested in? Who's the guy that he traded a second-round pick for? It's Chase Claypool. So, I think it's a fair conversation when it comes to that position.
And I'll take this conversation to the cornerback position. Obviously, Ryan Poles has drafted two guys, in Terrell Smith and Tyreek Stevenson. And a big part of what Eberflus values in this defense is people that can create turnovers. I'm not saying that those two picks are here to replace a guy like Jalen Johnson, but we know he's been looking for that new contract. Those discussions have started. We talked to Jalen Johnson at the Super Bowl, Mark, when he, where he talked about openly about wanting a new contract. And I think for Jalen Johnson, he's been a really good player for the Bears. He's been a leader in that locker room. He also has one interception in his, 3 years here with the Bears now. So it's like the turnovers matter. And he was the number 50th overall pick in the 2019 draft, right? And Tyreek Stevens was number 56. And I'm not saying, again, that exactly the replacement, but they do value that. They do value the turnovers. And if Jalen Johnson isn't going to create those things, then you have two corners you just drafted that you want to see maybe what they are capable of doing at that position. And it's, to fairness to Jalen, like also there were teams that just weren't throwing that way as much on the other side when you had a guy like Kindle Vildor. So there's different ways to look at this, but I think the Bears are big on competitiveness and having competition at all these positions. So the best man will end up playing, but just something that I think keep an eye on.
Yes, Gregory, did you have one
more?
more?
Well, and I was just going to say, and I mentioned it the other night, the excuse train that we will as fans try to cope to and rationalize. And for these players personally, maybe in these contracts, those are dissipating. Darnell Mooney now has help around him. Darnell Mooney could say, well, last year when I was healthy, we didn't have anybody around me, so I'm getting double teamed. I'm going up against the best corner. Now you got DJ Moore on your team. You got Chase Claypool on your team. You got a speedster in Tyler Scott that they got to account for when he's running out there. So you got to make plays. They all do. Justin Fields got to make plays. They're putting the pieces in place so these guys can succeed. And if you don't, you're not going to have as much of an arguing point at the negotiation table. Same with Jalen Johnson, maybe to a lesser extent because they still need to address the defensive line, especially at the edge. But hey, look at the linebacking core. Look how much that's been upgraded. They add two corners to this, to this room. So, they're not going to be able to just avoid Jalen Johnson at times. He's going to have to get production. So that's where I'm at. Like, they're going to have to make plays if they really want Ryan Poles to move off of whatever number he's going to have and say, okay, I got to keep these guys here. Ideally, you want to keep every homegrown talent. But again, Darnell Mooney and Jalen Johnson are not guys Ryan Poles signed.
Let me run through the chat here as to who do you, if you had to pick, let's do this. If you had to pick one guy right now that you really want Ryan Poles to sign and make him, a nice 3, 4, 5 year deal to be a part of what is coming here, hopefully for the Bears. Like who's your number one between Johnson, between Mooney, between Claypool, between Sandgod, I'll throw the Sandgod in there. Why not?
Cole Kmet, put Cole Kmet in there for
let's
a contract
go. Sure,
extension.
let's go Cole Kmet. Absolutely, let's do that. Like who informal Bears After Dark May 1st Bears Super Bowl 25 poll. Who do you want the Bears polls to whatever the market is? Let's hit it and pay it.
Wow, that's a tough question.
And you know what, guys? I think just based off the comments right now, look, it's Cole Kmet, and that's the one position the Bears did not draft. They did not go get a tight end.
And if you are saying Kmet, which is literally everybody except for a couple of Jalen Johnson's coming in here, I want a second behind Komet because that was a generous player because Cole doesn't really have any real competition. But
right. He had the
he,
third most touchdowns of any tight end in the NFL, correct? He had a big year, but again, on a team that Justin Fields didn't have many people to throw to, stayed. I'm not trying to take away from his year. He had a great year, and let's hope he just continues to build off of that. But now the ball is going to be spread around more ideally this year, so it'll be interesting to see where his numbers go. Hopefully everybody's numbers keep going up. But if I had to pick one, I'm hoping it's Jalen Johnson. I'm hoping Jalen Johnson gets 5 pick sixes this year, and he leaves the Bears no choice but to have to keep him there because in the NFL, you need 3 good cornerbacks. And right now, you've got Jalen Johnson. You've got Tyreek Stevenson. You've got Kyler Gordon. And oh, by the way, Jaquan Brisker hiding around in the backfield. So I that's where I would want it, but he's got to earn it. He's got to play with production on top of just his solid play overall. He played hurt at one point last year. I got a lot of respect for him, but I still think that there's some headway where he's got to earn it a little bit.
You know that if he was listening to this, he'd jump through the screen and perhaps strangle you saying, you don't think I've earned it? You don't think
Well, I'm the softy that's going to give you the money no matter what, but I'm going off of what Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus said at the end of the year, like Nick said. Matt Eberflus specifically said, I need production from that spot when specifically talking about Jalen Johnson. So if Jalen Johnson was listening right now and he's a true competitor, he's not going to take offense to that. He's going to say, I'm going to get that production and I'm going to show you. That's how I'd look at it if he's the competitor that I think he is, and I do think he is that.
There's a lot of Johnsons in here, and like Joseph who's on the screen right now saying, but I would not overpay. If you want to do your best to read between the lines here, they traded up to get Stevenson. They gave up a pick to do it. So does that put Johnson more on blast than perhaps the wide receivers? I'm not sure because you had a ton of needs, and in the 4th round, you drafted Tyler Scott. So maybe it's dead even. Maybe they're looking at it like, I'm not sure who. This is how I think they're looking at it. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but I'm going to create. And I saw a lot of comments this way, and I completely agree with it. I'm going to create as much competition as I possibly can. I'm starting to get the luxury to do that. I know that I still need multiple edge players, which Poles in his press conference after the draft acknowledged, yes, we said we couldn't do this all in 1 year. And we do have some money to go in the free agent market, lots of it, over 30 million of it, to go into the free agent market and do and sign a vet or 2. And we've got multiple 1st-round draft picks next year. And we're well damn ass aware that we don't have enough talent there. That's my own Carman.
Well, and at the very least, it's
editorial.
insurance. At the very least, it's insurance, right? I mean, yeah, you're creating competition. You hope they all play well and produce and work out, but it's also a numbers game too. Because like we mentioned, depending on what Jalen Johnson demands, this is something Adam Hogue brought up a lot throughout the season.
Who?
Like Adam Hogue.
Oh yeah.
Our trusty leader here.
Our beachfront. I think we should start calling Hogue beachfront property. Guys, so don't you
Hollywood
think
Hogue?
Well, we have Hollywood, but I think we should go beachfront property. What do you think? Should we go from Hollywood to beachfront?
Where is this coming from? Why are we calling them beachfront property?
Because that's what you put out. That's what you put out front, man. That's your prime time. That's your he's the beachfront. I mean, I'm in the alley. Nick's got a solid spot on a beautiful suburban street, and Braggs, you're with me in the alley.
I'm in the gutter.
You're right. Me and you are living together in a one-bedroom.
And to Chubbs's point, and Hogue has brought this up too. He had said, I want to re-sign Roquan, I want to re-sign David Montgomery, and then didn't. So even though Ryan Poles is saying I want to re-sign these guys, that's the company line he's going to give. So, it's going to be interesting to see at the very least. And then the other thing I think that you got to look into, and Nick Whalen, because I saw our guy Robert Schmitz kind of piggybacking off of this conversation, and people were kind of getting into it with Robert and this guy, Nick Whalen, who's a good follow on Twitter. He said, RAS is important to Poles. Moore, Claypool, Scott, and Valus have better RAS scores than Mooney. And when you look at the draft and his philosophy and the way he values players, like I said on Twitter, I couldn't explain to you how they come up with the RAS numbers. I know it's through the combine and all that stuff. But don't ask me to specifically explain it. All I know is that's what polls value. So if Claypool is ahead of Mooney in RAS scores and their production is very similar, I mean, I know people. I love Darnell Mooney. I'd give him all the money in the way. It ain't my money, but this is about what Ryan Poles values.
No doubt, you guys. Sorry, I was like, I don't know where you guys had a conversation about. You guys are gonna be in an alleyway. I'm gonna be at a beach somewhere.
I put you in this. I gave you a great suburban home. I put you in a prime time spot. You've got a beautiful home with a great backyard. Hoag's, on Lake Michigan. He's overlooking. He's next to Poles, and Braggs and I are. I don't know.
I feel like Nick. He's the workout warrior. What's that workout beach in California?
Oh God,
Muscle Beach, and then you got Hoag's in the high rise. Hoag's up there,
penthouse Hoag,
yeah,
over
he's
beachfront
Hoag.
Penthouse Hoag.
Okay.
That's not bad. That's not bad. But he's got a boat. I think he'd rather be on the beach.
True.
That's true. That's true.
By the way, shout out to Rob and Gary who are going back and forth in the chat who both came out to Joe's on Weed Street. And I think we're on a whole nother level. And Matt, thank you for the Carman outstanding mic upgrade comment. I owe it to my guy Kurt who's in the comments. Good. Kurt got me he's got his merchandise company. He made me the arguable goat hat. And after we had this big discussion on Saturday, he literally sent me a link of Amazon what mic to buy. And I
know now I feel like I have the worst mic, so I got to step up my game.
You sound fine.
No, I think we all sound pretty good now.
Yeah,
we're rolling.
You're just having a hard time fitting in the screen. But
all right, give it time, Carm. Give it time, Cramalicious.
I know you're on. I know you're out. You're firing. You're doing your thing. You told me that we were gonna.
I ain't even gonna start bragging about it until we start seeing results.
No,
all right?
no. You're already. I know you're making progress. You look adorable. And what was
I
the
at
best?
least cut my hair.
Yeah,
good haircut. Really good haircut.
Yes.
No. Braggs is stunningly attractive when you get to him in person. He's got those blue eyes, and I mean, I saw all these women just staring at him at Joe's. It's amazing. All right, let's
give a shout out to our guys. We could.
Who? Go ahead.
Well, I just want you to go natural.
No, this is natural. I have no real agenda. Go ahead.
Yeah, because podcasts and live shows on every team, every day, post-game shows, premium written content for members at all CHGO, dope merch for all teams. This is how you become a diehard, ladies and gentlemen. These are the things you get. You get a free shirt when you become a member, members-only Discord where you can talk to all these guys here in the chat and the people that work at CHGO getting in with you in private conversations that only diehards get at. You can. Well, I think that's it. I think that's where it's at. I was reading through it, but those are the things you can get. Through the draft process, there were so many perks. You can get discounts on live events. We're going to be doing happy hours here as the summer goes on. Like I said, you can get the discounts on the shirts. We just dropped a new shirt, and it's literally tops in the game. A bear down shirt that I've already put down for, so I know you guys will too. But you got to become a diehard, and you will have access to all that exclusive information. Adam Hoag's putting out, information and articles that only you will receive if you're a diehard. So I highly encourage you to get signed up as soon as you can.
Excellent job, Greg. And listen, if you just want to support what we're doing here, period, it's a way to do it. And we try to give you every bit of value back, and we appreciate all that have to this point. So thank you. Tomorrow on the show, Brian Bohannon, head coach, Kennesaw State, will be with us as we're going to talk about Travis Bell, who is adorable and is the third 3 tech that Ryan Poles invested in. They clearly fell in love with each other. I believe at the Kennesaw State Pro Day, and then when he came in for a visit, there's something going on there. I mean, I expect this guy to be a practice squad player this year as they try to mold him into somebody who can make a impact here. Brian Souter, by the way, wears his CHGO hoodie every day as a diehard. There you go, Souter. That's what I'm talking about. I think Souter's a big Illinois fan, if memory serves. He's also turning into a Northwestern fan all at the same time, and he hates Purdue. Brags. But
hell, nobody's perfect.
Yeah. So I and thank you, Gary, for being a diehard Rocks. We appreciate it. But so I'm wondering, like, what do we want to know about our guy Travis Bell? What if people like throwing it out there for questions? And I don't know where you're leaning on this, Nick, when we're talking to the coach. I know that Braggs, you want to get in there because the dude's carrying a knife around him when he shows up to practice, coming from somewhere. I'm kind of excited about this Bohannon interview, our first ever interview from Kennesaw State. Damn it! And I went on their website and I saw that I could become a season ticket holder to Kennesaw State football for a mere $75. Now that doesn't put you on the 50-yard line, but it does get you in the building. So there it is. Ronetta is here too. She's happy that she joined the diehard posse. What does anybody have you thought this through? Our first head coach that we're talking to of any of our drafted guys tomorrow. I'm excited about this.
Just honestly getting to know not even the player, just the person, because there's been a lot of videos that have surfaced from him, and there was a nice one-on-one interview about kind of how he's wired, but getting more in depth from the person that sees him, consistently, that's going to be something that I think Bears fans are going to want to know about. And like you said, probably a practice squad player, right? So getting to know this guy, what gets him, what makes him tick, right? I think that's going to be something that I want to get, just that firsthand knowledge from the coach in tomorrow's show. Also, how does he best help this football team? Like what kind of stands out about him from the attributes that can maybe help him make this football team? It's obviously an uphill battle, but there's no one better that you can talk to than obviously the head coach of the football team.
Nick, did you work at the University of Iowa in addition to going to school like Travis Bell did at Kennesaw State?
I mean, I worked for the newspaper, if that counts, but yeah, I worked for the newspaper. So no,
that's a fun job that's trying to advance your career. So did you have a real job?
I did not, just a newspaper.
Yeah, good old mom and dad relying on him. I love you for it.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that.
No.
Worked in the summers, had to.
Yeah, no, I got. What'd you do in the summers?
There were a couple years where I was working down at the Waukegan Port District. There was one where I was a camp counselor, so I was doing some. Just
amazing camp counselor.
Yeah, at least he might have been living off the parents for a little bit, but at least he was working hard and going to school. Meanwhile, while I was living off my mom and bricklaying, I was spending all my money doing drugs and drinking. So that's it's the truth.
I know. And getting arrested multiple times.
While I'm a hard worker now, in my early 20s, I was not a focused individual. No. So,
no, I got it. And we've discussed this behind closed doors about that when you have some things that you're not thrilled about with right now that you're paying.
But what? I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't get through those things. So here I am, good husband, good father. I made it. It only took me about 28 years. So yeah, exactly. I didn't peak in high school at least. So that's one thing I can hang my hat on. But that's what I like about this guy because I have learned about an honest, hard day's work and trying to grind through this, and we talked about this on the last show, and I don't want to beat a dead horse when it comes to this, but it's the truth. Like I have a big appreciation for a guy that's going to show up to the locker room in his work uniform with that knife in his pocket, like Ryan Poles referenced. And obviously that made a big impression on Ryan in one of the reasons why he drafted this guy, saying that, football is, he was working for a living and football was recess to him. So I definitely want to hear a little more about this story of this guy coming in with his work uniform on. These other guys, that probably wasn't the case. And here comes this guy, hard hat, lunch pail. And I got a lot of respect for that. It just shows how determined he was to make it. I don't probably think he had any aspirations to get to the NFL. And this is just a guy that put his head down and kept working. And sounds like he's a mama's boy too. And I'm a mama's boy. So, I got a lot of respect for that. So, I'm like Nick said, excited to hear about the person. It's a great story, and I'm glad Bears fans are already kind of opening their arms to it.
Yeah, and Ryan Poles, I'm not saying this is a pity case because if he couldn't play football, he wouldn't have drafted him. But giving a guy like this a chance is fun. And I just want to shout out Gumby's in Iowa City, where I did work as one of the outstanding delivery drivers. And you would start at 5 p.m. and you'd go till 5 a.m. The last 2 hours, you were the worst. You'd be back in the pizza joint, cleaning up all the bins, like folding boxes, just setting up for the next day. It's 4 a.m. You're straight miserable. But it did pay at least somewhat well for a college dude. And I also want to shout out the dude whoever managed that building, because when I came in there, he's like, "So, are you cool?" And I'm like, Yeah, bro. No, don't worry. You guys can smoke all the weed you want in here. No problem. I am on board with the pizza delivery marijuana vibe.
At least they didn't have cigars to pass around.
Yeah. Are you cool? Yeah, bro. I'm cool. I got you.
Are
Don't
you
worry.
a narc?
I'm not calling up my parents to come out here to Iowa and bring the police around because everybody in here is high as a kite. No problem. I got you. So I don't think our guy Travis was doing that. I think he was straight down the middle getting
Kennesaw State is a doctorate school, and I think his education background is one that's going to take him a long ways when football is over.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the video we saw with Kennesaw State, he's definitely interested in coaching after that, but even beyond football, I think this guy will be successful in life. He wasn't screwing around like Braggs. That's for sure.
That's that. Congratulations. You're here today. All right. We peeked at the division earlier today. I want to do a terrorizing peek at it right now. Name your one guy that the Packers or the Lions or the Vikings drafted that you feel borderline terrified about, that guy is going to be an absolute stud. I went at Jahmyr Gibbs today. I thought they overdrafted Jack Campbell. But when I'm talking about Detroit, I actually am feeling the nerves that they somehow, some way lucked into their quarterback of the future in Hendon Hooker, who made a lot of dudes look good down in Tennessee, man. Not that, Jalen Hyatt wasn't a good wide receiver, but if this guy stays healthy, the Lions, without trading up for it and just sort of falling in their lap, that's my biggest kind of hanging fruit concern right now. I don't know where you guys come out. A lot of people saying Gibbs, or at least the first two. That's interesting because I'm not as worried about Gibbs, but our first two guys are.
Johnny Rampage has a good comment here. Addison and Jefferson are going to be a problem. I think so. You're adding any talented wide receiver with Justin Jefferson. Now you have to really worry about that whole entire wide receiver core that the Vikings have. Kirk Cousins is going to distribute the football. Maybe he's not, the greatest quarterback in the league, but that's another weapon that Minnesota has to their disposal. But I also I think out of all the drafts, it was a little questionable with Detroit, how they kind of handled the first couple of picks, but I do really like Jack Campbell in the middle of that defense. And maybe he's overdrafted, but I think he's going to be a really good football player, guys. And obviously the Bears have some new backs in the backfield this year, but they're going to be seeing a lot of Jack Campbell. The guy that has a nose for the football, will track guys down, and will make a bunch of tackles. So Jack Campbell's another guy.
Yeah, well, no surprise you're looking at Iowa guys. But he was, a big-time linebacker. Defensive player of the year, right? 2 years in a row?
Yeah, sounds right. Yep.
He gets production, and he's a good player. But no, Jordan Addison certainly is a concern, but Kirk Cousins only 1 year left on his deal.
True.
So, let's see what quarterback they get to throw to these guys after that. That's going to be the question for them. So if we're talking short term, yeah, Jordan Addison's going to be a problem this year. But then after that, who's their quarterback? For the Lions, yeah, they reached for Jahmyr Gibbs. There's no question about that. But at the same time, this is a pretty dynamic athlete and running back and a good check down, break glass in case of emergency, throw it to this guy and he's going to take off and run. I mean, to me, he looks like Alvin Kamara. He does look like that. So, now you've got, a guy in Jared Goff that understands to hit the check down, take what the defense gives you. And you've got this menace in Jahmyr Gibbs running around that's going to create problems, and a good balance from David Montgomery. So they got a 1-2 punch there. I know I give David Montgomery crap, but it's the truth. And then when you talk about, Carm, Hendon Hooker being in place, when he comes in as a rookie, he's going to need a check down guy before he understands how to read the field downfield. So Jahmyr Gibbs is certainly the answer to that question, in my opinion.
Seen a lot of love for Brian Branch, who's the top safety in the draft, who also fell to the Lions. And a good point that, look, Jared Goff is barely 3 years older than Hendon Hooker, but it's, it's the contract situation with Goff where, you would think that when his contract is up, the Lions are not going to, at least it gives them a lot more flexibility if they can move along to a rookie quarterback and he's a free agent after the 2024 season. So it's 2 years of Hooker. You're paying him 20 and 21 million right now, and then he's a free agent in 25. That's where, if Hooker does the right things, maybe Goff gets hurt at some point, he steps in. Now you've got a rookie guy making nothing around a team that's, at least if the way things go the way Detroit wants it to go, trying to compete for making a very deep playoff run. I know they're the Lions, and I know that doesn't scare people a ton. I got to tell you, there was so much negative Van Ness around. Maybe I'm just listening to Gary Ross too much, or not enough. I don't know, but there was so much Van Ness negativity that I kind of was sleeping on him. But looking at the Packers drafting him and going through it, if he hits to his talent level, and Nick, I know that you love him, that dude could be somebody that Bears fans are going to know a whole lot and maybe even look at, because, he went 13th and we, took Darnell at 10.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL. I was comfortable with the Bears taking him, but right now, how Van Ness is, I'm comfortable with Darnell Wright taking those one-on-ones with him. He's going to try to win with power. Darnell Wright is a very powerful human being. So unless he starts to develop his game, get some more pass rush moves, if we're projecting who are we most afraid of, it's not Van Ness right now as a rookie, because I feel comfortable with Darnell Wright and his skill set and mitigating what he's able to do. But down the road, I think Van Ness is going to be a good football player for the Green Bay Packers, and you can get the most out of him. So, okay, that's an interesting comp right there. James Hunter, Van Ness to Clay Matthews. He's bigger, and he's going to play more, on the line, hand in the dirt. But I think he could be a disruptive player for that front. But as of the rookie season, feeling good about what Darnell Wright can do to stop him if he's lined up opposite of him.
And that'll be fun. Wright versus Van Ness. Let's go Bears Packers. I got it. Before I move on here, Braggs, to my last outstanding After Dark neurotic topic of the night. Do you have anything to add to this one?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So
that's a first.
I know.
Write it down.
Yes.
I have nothing to say left on the topic. You guys
May 1st, 7:21 p.m.
All right. So this is where I want to go. It was maybe the most interesting comment that Poles made to me in his press conference. Basically, does Justin Fields have what he needs now so you guys can make a fair assessment? And he said yes. That yes, we are set up now. And in essence, there's basically no excuses for the quarterback going forward here, because we've addressed the offensive line. We've addressed the receiver group. Yes, they lost David Montgomery, but we went out and Dante Foreman, and we also got him. We got you Roschon in the draft. There's literally players all over the field. We even paid for some your insurance things if people get hurt in Equanimeous and
Robert
Dante.
Tonyan.
Yeah, and we went out and got you another tight end, Robert Tonyan. So, I mean, are we Bears After Dark chat, Nick, Braggs, are we in agreement with polls that if Fields, as we look at it on this May 1st, if Fields does not have that year 3 that we're all looking for, it's on him and not on what's around him?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think so. You're in the second year with Luke Getsy, so he already has familiarity going into this season. You do have your number one. Your line is a lot more. Look, no offensive line is going to be perfect, but I think Justin Fields can stay upright with the guys that they have. We've got to see how Braxton Jones does in year 2, but I liked what I saw. I saw enough in year 1 to at least want to see that happen again, which it's going to happen. Then you kind of solidified that line. And now you have some running backs and you have a bunch of wide receivers. Like they're 4 and 5 where they're 1 and 2 or 2 or 3 last year. This is Justin Fields' time to shine, Mark and Greg, where if he doesn't, you do have those 2 first-round draft picks, but this is his opportunity. Like you look at the familiarity with the offense, the number 1 wide receiver and a better line. He's got to ball out. And I agree. And he did say like on paper, and obviously you got to see how everything meshes, but yeah, this is his year, and I think he did do enough to give him enough talent and linemen and wide receiver and just weapons in general to see enough out of him.
There's no question. They have all the pieces in place. They have depth at the running back position. You can argue they now have depth at the wide receiver position. It's certainly a room that's filling out. They have, a tight end room that's solid. The offensive line, they still have to come together. And I think depth is an issue still there that I don't know if they're not going to be able to address this year, but it's there. And T3 podcast, he puts JF1 as a star. What are we evaluating? And that's true. He is a star. I mean, what he showed last year is superstar potential, but there's no question he wants to put up passing numbers. He's got to do it. And if you believe he's a star and I believe he's a star, then you shouldn't be worried about it. You shouldn't even get defensive when people ask the question because he's going to do it. And I feel like I know he's going to do it. And Nick brought up a good point when it comes to the other excuse that's kind of eliminated is that Luke Getsy, you could say last year, well, it's the first year of the offense. They're getting to know each other. But that does cut both ways because I guess the one excuse you could slide in there if things aren't going well is Luke Getsy doesn't know what he's doing. We've been down this road when coaches aren't getting the most out of their players, especially offensively. Cough, cough, Matt Nagy. So has Luke Getsy learned what he wants to do to get the most out of his offense? Because I felt like they were moving the ball and then it would stall in the red zone. And it's easy to blame Dante Pettis and the lack of receivers and no offensive line. Now this year, they got to score. They got to get in the red zone. They got to score the football. And you can't lean on Justin Fields to make 140 yards rushing a game to get you down the field. You got to do it through the air so you can sit. Justin Fields ran out of gas and eventually got hurt because of that. So that's going to be big on Luke Getsy as much as it is on Justin Fields to get this offense productive.
I think it's a great point. I don't, I think the Bears absolutely like Luke Getsy, and in the middle of last season, it was terror that he was going to leave us, and because the offense was unlocked. I believe in Getsy, I believe in Fields, but I think there is a combo there. Like, he's still going to be a second-year offensive coordinator in the league, and there were moments last year where you're definitely scratching your head. And they had opportunities where they could have been a little more risky as far as developing Fields, like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and they're running it rather than let your quarterback that you're developing step back into the pocket and see if he can figure it out. And if he doesn't, who gives a shit? Because you're trying to lose. So,
you saw that in the first 5 weeks, he refused to pass the ball. He refused to spread it out 5 wide. Everything was conventional. It'd be 3rd and 6 and they'd hand the ball off against the Texans. They weren't giving Justin Fields the ball with the chance to win the game. The Minnesota game too, on a 4th down, they choose to punt on 4th and 2. when you got this superstar that can run 4 yards with his eyes closed, let alone 60 yards. So, but it looked like he turned a corner and was like, okay, this is what I need to do to move the ball. So I think he has an understanding of getting the most out of his players and adjusting on the fly. I have trust in that, but they still have to figure out the passing game. It's just a fact.
It's fun to start to think about what this season's going to look like. I'm getting excited. I'm actually like weirdly fired up for rookie minicamp, which is which is an exercise in literally of rookies looking at the syllabus. I mean, that's what this Friday and Saturday is going to be, which, by the way, will be out there both Friday and Saturday. Nick's going to be there, I believe, both days. And although we're not planning on doing a show on Saturday, but
I'll be hiding in the woods. No, I'm kidding. The top of the tree. I'm kidding. Not in the woods.
Well, I think you should come on out if you want to come on out. Let's
have a party.
You know that train that whizzes by. I'll be on the train.
You'll be on the top of the train.
Maybe whatever. You could be you could go straight fan, which you lean into, and just be the guy that's getting autographs as they're pulling out of there. You could get the first ever Travis Bell autograph on the grass island.
We shouldn't even be because I think the Bears know I would do these things, so I'm not trying to scare them because I will.
They're not scared. They love you. The Bears believe in your talents. I've talked to. Okay, fine. I haven't. Let's leave it alone. All right, I'm being told that we are
hard out for Steven.
Hard out for Steven because there's baseball going on and we're busy here at CHGO, so it's a little bit of a truncated. We normally go about 7:45, so it's a little bit of a truncated after dark. We're back tomorrow at noon. Brian Bohannon, head coach Kennesaw State's going to be with us, so we'll have some Travis Bell conversation. Eric Edholm's going to be on the show on Wednesday. He's got all the draft grades. Looking forward to that. The Chicago Audible. With the Bears brothers, Will and Nick is going on Thursday. And then after the mini camp on Friday, we'll be on. So a little bit of a later time on Friday, Nick and myself and Beachfront Property / what'd you call them? Penthouse.
High rise, yeah. Yes, penthouse.
Yes. So at any rate, shorter show, but still a lot of fun tonight. A great interaction from the chat tonight. You guys had thoughts on all this stuff, which of course I knew you would. Nick, I'm coming over. Let's play some ping pong. I need an activity tonight. I'm trying to get myself.
I don't have a ping pong table here at the apartment. We'll play tomorrow at the studio.
All right, tomorrow at the studio it is.
You don't want to hang out with you.
Are you in on Wednesday there?
I'll be there Wednesday.
Okay. Oh. Speaking of, and we got to go, but Lane Tech, Carman Nice, playoffs, trying to go for back-to-back city titles. They play at 4:30 on Wednesday. I'm assuming you're sticking around, Braggs, and you're coming to that game with me.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll talk about it.
You talk to Jenny, and you tell her that you're supporting Carman and the Carman family, and you're going to watch some girls soccer because it's awesome at Lane Tech. Let's go, Lane. Back-to-back city champs. Here we come. Grace Carman on her way to dominating the old soccer world. All right, on that note, everybody have a great night.